What are you?
I'm black and beautiful.
What is your nationality?
My nationality is Afro-American.
Suppose I had some money in my pocket. Suppose I gave you $1 to say that you're an American Negro. This is money now. Money talks. Money talks. This dollar. And if you don't say it, you don't get it. You're an American Negro, aren't you?
No.
You won't have any money. You know you need money, don't you?
Yes.
You need money to live, don't you?
Yes.
All right. All you have to say, Leon, is that you're an American Negro. Aren't you an American Negro?
They're an independent body. If they wanted to make a assessment about different charges, they could have done that. But our recommendation was that Mattingly and Cosgrove were justified in their acts and their conduct.
One officer was charged with reckless endangerment for firing wantonly in the apartment, but the failure to charge anyone with killing Breonna Taylor has led to about a week's worth of protests here in Louisville. More than 200 people arrested and 2 police officers shot and wounded. Right now, the governor has said he has lifted the curfew and there are no plans to activate the National Guard. Harris, back to you.
Assessment about different charges. They could have done that, but our recommendation, different charges, they could have done that, but our recommendation, 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 recommendation.
Hey, how's y'all doing, everybody? This is your host, the Whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and welcome to another Black Minds News Report. First and foremost, want to say what's good to my fam, my subscribers, my day ones, and my new ones. What's good, fam? Hope everything is going well with you and yours. To each and every one of you, thank you for clicking on the video here. Passerbys, if we happen to pass by due to the thumbnail or the title of the show, welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. We always got a grand opening. Go down the aisle, happen to see something to make you feel some kind of way. Remember, the motto of my show is the truth. Don't need no partner. Well, as I've been slowly putting out the, let's say, the release video audio of the grand jury case. For those who have been hearing it, it seems like a lot of it has been suppressed. But there's been a lot of interesting things that have fell out of this, releasing of this jury, the hearings from it. And so something came out today after I was doing a couple other shows that I seen as I was looking around for some things. And it's talking about now that another individuals want to come out and express their concerns about the Breonna Taylor's case. Maybe you heard about it, maybe you didn't hear about it. So I decided I think it would be good to bring this out because I've already caught on it, and before I guess other people might end up doing it. It's not about a race, it's just about putting out the information that I find. So let me go ahead and let you hear. How about we do this? We won't do that. What I'll do is I'll go ahead, show you the thumbnail, right? This is the thumbnail that we're talking about, right? This is what the show is based on, right? And you can see in there, right, what you see. So let me go ahead and let me tell you the backdrop of this. Well, let me give you first the article that's coming from right there that you see on your screen. Christopher 2X, second grand juror, expresses concerns with Breonna Taylor's case. Let me say that again. Christopher 2X, second grand juror, expresses concern with Breonna Taylor's case, right? That's what we're going to go with. But before I get into that, right, let me give you, well, let's go ahead and just do it this way. we'll do it this way, and then we'll just see how this is going to turn out, right? So it's talking as this. It's talking about Louisville, Kentucky. It said a second grand juror is expressing concerns with the proceedings of the Breonna Taylor case, according to a Louisville activist, Christopher 2X. It says time to lift the silence off the grand jurors. The second, or 2X, said during a Sunday press conference. And it goes on, says one grand juror has already filed a lawsuit to speak about the case. And 2X said he received a phone call this weekend regarding another juror with concerns. He wouldn't elaborate to protect the person's identity and said that person has been told to stay silent for now. We're gonna hear hurt. We're gonna hear something from them that you can't hear, and those audio tapes, said 2X. Even though 15 hours of grand jury testimony is now public, 2X says there's more to the story. We need the silence lift off the grand jurors so we can really get a human feel for what's going on. The tapes can't give us that, he said. 2X is urging the community to turn its attention to the federal investigation of Breonna Taylor's case. If you're about justice for Breonna Taylor, you can't be afraid to engage the feds just like you were trying to engage with Kentucky's Attorney General Daniel Cameron, he said. 2X, who was joined by two U of L students, said they spoke to FBI Louisville special agent in charge over the phone Sunday, expressing the desire to increase transparency with the Louisville community. We intend to organize in the next several weeks some communities' interactions with the FBI so they can come out and talk to the people firsthand about what they are doing with these investigations, 2X said. This is not about being buddies with them, he added. We've got to break this whole idea, especially in the black community, that the FBI is not approachable. In a statement with WDRB News, an FBI Louisville spokesperson said FBI Louisville does community outreach to inform the public of its efforts to keep the community safe and to foster a great understanding of the role of the FBI in the community through frank discussions. This is one example of a variety of community outreach efforts FBI Louisville is conducting. Okay? And that's what they're talking about there. Then let me give you this, and then we'll go on and talk about a little bit about what they said there. So hold this, and we'll be right back.
An unnamed grand juror in the Breonna Taylor case is asking a judge to be allowed to speak publicly so that the truth may prevail.
My client wants to make sure the truth gets out. My client wants to make sure that anything that happened in there becomes something of public knowledge to the extent it's legally allowed to.
It's appropriate for us to release any information.
Last week, Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron cited an ongoing FBI civil rights investigation for why that information should not become public. But now he says he'll comply with the judge's order to release it by tomorrow. His office says we have no concerns with grand jurors sharing their thoughts on our presentation because we are confident in the case we presented. The officers involved was charged with causing Taylor's death during a botched drug raid in March. Cameron says the actions of two other officers were justified because Taylor's boyfriend shot at them first. Last week, as the decision sparked protests across the country, Cameron declined to specify whether his office recommended more serious charges to the grand jury. Now he says the only charge recommended was wanton endangerment.
I do not believe that the Attorney General's office presented the most serious charges to the grand jury. I think that his office made the determination.
Public plea.
It's time to lift the silence off the grand jurors.
Less than a week after a grand juror in Breonna Taylor's case asked a judge to speak out, community activist Christopher 2X says now there's another.
How many more want to feel freely to say, here's my version of what happened with the Breonna Taylor evidence that we was presented with.
2X says they should be able to do.
The tapes are one thing. The tapes can't really probably tell the full story for people to feel full trust.
Our city is angry, and the country is too. And we think that lifting that silence will really help to lift the voices that need to be heard.
U of L doctoral and graduate students Tatiana Wells and Christy Welch joined 2X Sunday just after the group spoke to the FBI's special agent in charge, Robert Brown.
One more eye looking out on the situation, which is important because right now our city is feeling like it's not going to get justice.
The group says the FBI has civil rights attorneys from the Department of Justice out of Washington, D.C., working on the case with no attorneys from the Louisville area.
We're pleased to hear that, and we think that is necessary, that if you got the best to get in on this, you should do that.
The FBI also telling the group its investigation will still take some time, with the conclusion and findings not expected until 2021.
The forensics has been completed, and then now they're going through the data analysis, which could also include the audio and the visuals.
2X says he believes the FBI will be transparent throughout its investigation. His organization, Game Changers, plans to coordinate community interaction events so the public can hear directly from the FBI about the process. For the night team,
All right, we are black, right? So, as you see there, that it looks like a Louisville activist named Christopher 2X, who is not one of the grand jurors, but he is speaking in behalf of, seems that he has concerns because grand jurors had concerns, right? Seems like they're reaching out to him. And if you have been listening to those hearings, you could hear a lot of brothers and sisters being a part of that proceeding. Let me say that again. If you go back and if you are listening and, attent listener, I know sometimes listen to court proceedings, especially when you have to be there, you have to be paying attention. But when you're just observing and listening, you could probably kind of doze off because you lose like an interest. It gets dry parts, and then there's parts where, kind of like reading a book, right? There's parts where it's like watching paint dry until you finally get that nugget and then, oh, okay, you get it, you know what I'm saying? But that's how it is, listen to jury proceedings. And when you listen intently, there's a lot of things that fell out that according to what the public discourse of what they were, the pundits and the spin that was going on versus what we're now, for those who are intently listening, there's a lot of things that were said. And just the way that during that press conference of how the Attorney General, Daniel Cameron, the way he worded how he said he presented was not exactly what you thought was going to go before the grand jury. And so it left a lot of doubt going in for those who paid attention to that. Then when the outcome ended up reaching its verdict, that's why the people were out there protesting, because they assume what the way he articulated what he was doing is that he was presenting the best case on behalf of, it seems, about Breonna Taylor. But as these releasings of the findings, or what was determined through the process of the grand jury, and now people are seeing certain things fall out, and then see that the case is really based on the fact that an individual, yes, he was part of, let's say, the tactical unit that was there to, again, the so-called search warrant, right? And this whole proceeding, and he was wantonly shooting wildly, but it had nothing to do with Breonna Taylor, who became deceased through this event. And what happens, it looks like, don't even see what happens. What it is that happened is that we come to find out, as you heard in the video here, he finally admits. But originally, as you see on the thumbnail there, you see he says, we have no concerns with grand juries sharing their thoughts on our presentation because we are confident in the case we presented. Now, the reason why he can be confident about what he presented is because he knows you're not going to catch him, because what he presented to the grand jury is what he presented. Let me say that again. Based on what you see in front of you on that thumbnail, does it not say that we have no concerns with grand jurors sharing other thoughts on our presentation because we are confident in the case we presented? He's confident is because he presented to the grand jury about who? Hankerson, right? They had already X'd out when he talked about Miles Cosgrove and Jonathan Mattingly were already taken out of the equation. So what he presented to the grand jury, he didn't lie. He just spent it in the way when he did his press conference, he spent it in such a way that he made it appear, again, being slick with it, right? Sweet-tonguing it, right? Wooing you, right? He wooed you to make you, again, thinking that everybody was asleep. And then now, because of the revealing of what he did, because just imagine if that process and there was not the murmuring and the people becoming uptight about it, we would have never got a chance to see his hand. It would have been poker, right? He played the poker face. He spent the words and said it the way he needed to sell it, got it to the process. But the thing was, it was the jurors who sat there, and then after everything had went through and they made their decision, to see how the people were murmuring and agitated, made a lot of them, self-reflect. It's like, well, what happened here? What they presented to us that's what the case was. So once, I guess, some of them got to hear people from outside of the jury pool, because I'm not sure how the grand jury works. Are they secluded and not able to watch TV and all this other stuff? I'm on the assumption of that. I'm not sure. If anybody knows, you can go ahead and put it in the comment. But just thinking that, so here they are after they're seen and all the evidence that they've seen that they got presented with. That's another thing they had too. They got to see a lot of the evidence. And when you're listening to these hearings, these audios, you hear them actually being very aware and conscious as a juror. These would be people great that you would want if you were sitting down and you had to go through this process. These are some of the people that you probably would want because they were asking the right questions. But then again, they were spinning it. Again, one part is, again, as I put out, and I think it's part 7, when it talked about the caliber 40 Glock 22, right? That caliber 40 Glock 22 to me is a major piece of really trying to get down to what really happened. That caliber 40 Glock 22, which when you hear in the proceedings, you hear the individual spinning that. He is spinning that to the fact that the person that who is supposedly the expert on this, is not really correcting him, but he is correcting them. But he's kind of like, maybe something wrong with you. You stuck on, she keeps saying 9mm when we really talking about a 40 cal 22. You understand? And so with that being said, and then what the findings was, it changes the whole dynamic of what took place that night based on what they had spent it. And so here are the jurors who done sat there, seen all the evidence that was presented. They seen everything. They questioned, but they realized the thing that they were sitting there to be adjudicating on was not what they thought they was going to, that they was attesting to as well. And so when you looked at the press conference and how the attorney general was spinning it and kept saying grand jury, grand jury, grand jury, grand jury, the grand jury, what we presented to the grand jury. So it takes the responsibility off of them who are presenting it and said that the determination came by who? The grand jury. And now they had to live with it. And so they were kind of like, hey, hold on, man. We just come here based on the fact that we, are picked to do our duty as, citizens and the civics and so forth. But you got us in a situation, if anybody ever find out that any one of us is here, that sat here on this proceeding and came up with this outcome, our lives could be in danger. Because they under the assumption that of one thing, but that's not what you presented. And so because of that outcry, it forced some of them to, again, reflect upon and say, you know what? I got to do what's right. Now, this is not the normal way that this goes down. So they're actually bucking the system or making the system have a hiccup in it. And because of that hiccup, the Attorney General, this Daniel Cameron, is kind of being exposed. And so because we have all the, releasings now, they want to come out and talk about it, right? They're now, I guess, convening with each other, talking in the background, because here in this case, this is an activist who's coming out to speak on behalf. And what he's saying is that they don't want to stay in silence. It's time to lift the silence off the grand jury. Allow them to have their day. But normally they're supposed to be secretive, right? Nobody's supposed to know. But because of this is a major national global case, right? In the sense, this is kind of global. I'm not saying that every nation around the world is all focused on it, but everybody kind of knows there's something going on here in the United States. And so people are aware. We have people all abroad and they're seeing the things from the George Floyd, and it's just magnetized throughout the world. It's kind of like a Wi-Fi signal. It done reached all over the globe. And so a lot of eyes are here on the United States, and they're trying to find a way now that this hand is being revealed. But I'm thinking that there's a possibility in the deal. Remember the deal. Again, I don't blame the family. I kind of looking at the people who were supposed to have been representing them. Let me say that again. I'm not looking at the family. The family did what they needed to do. And sometimes you just believe that the people who are representing you have the best interest at heart for you. And so you trust them. And so the way that it went down, and remember after they went through this whole thing about this $12 million historic payout and kept wanting to reiterate historic, but there was the one clause that should have resonated with all of us when we heard it. And what was that clause, y'all? That they were not going to admit any guilt. Let me say that again. After all that had went down, to come and give the historic $12 million, and then to have in that clause that they would not admit to any guilt. But if anybody who's sitting here, who's listening to any of these audio hearings, what are you hearing in this process? Are you hearing what they put out propaganda-wise, or are you seeing an entirely different proceeding? We know that they're proceeding against the individual who's shooting wildly outside. And the one thing, too, is they try to make it seem like it was only 3 people doing shooting. You say you had 7, and there was more than that there. You had 7 to 9, so many people there. And we see casings all around from her bedroom to her sister's bedroom to the front door to the patio. How's that 3 people only shooting? Right? So anyway, so the jurors can't sleep at night because of what they really know. Right? It's kind of like saying you got a friend that's supposed to be your ace, this is supposed to be your ace, right? And whether it be male or female, your lady or your man, and they know they cheating on you. Now they probably be down with you. They kick it with you. They know all this information. Now, what kind of friend is going to be the kind of character they're going to display. They're either going to be cool, let everything slide, or they're going to come tell you like, let me tell you something. You get what I'm saying? And so that's how these jurors have, because they could have went about their long hair and it would have just been done with. But that ain't what they did. So what this now happened is they calling each other And so they said, well, we need to get this word out that we're not really cool with what happened, right? So that's how you had one of the grand jurors that went and filed the lawsuit, right? Because in that filing about that lawsuit, what they wanted to do, they want to speak about the case. Remember, because they want to keep anonymity. Again, the whole process of a grand jury is to keep secrecy. But they said, based on what took place and how the country is reacting, they said, well, I want to relinquish my name. I want to put some respect back on my name. And so, accordingly, these jurors are somehow getting to, I'm not sure who Christopher 2X is in his community in the state of Louisville, but it seemed like they're reaching out to him, and it seemed like the jurors are getting in contact with him, and they're having a lot of concerns. They wanted him to kind of elaborate on the situation. But they're like, nah, I can't, reveal that because, they need to be protected about their identity because, again, obviously they want to go against what has been done. And then he said there was one individual that he had talked to that they was told, I guess, personally by somebody, didn't specify, but it said they talked to somebody and somebody told them to stay silent for now. What does that mean? When it all boiled over, then we're going to allow y'all to go ahead and talk. But right now, this in the heat of the battle, this ain't the time for you to be speaking. So my thing is, going back a little bit, is the fact that in that deal of the $12 million, I think lies in the fact that once signed on the line, there was something in those, let's say, fine prints that is allowing them to be like, okay, y'all know what it is. Everybody else got to play their role, but in the end, it's going to be what we agreed to, what we signed on the dotted line. Because to take away the fact that you're not guilty when everything that if you're listening and making notes and looking at stuff, you're going to come to find out that everything, like, that one person came out here and was talking about everything that was said was a lie. This person here was this and this. And y'all know who I'm talking about. Y'all can't stand when she talking, but she was saying what she was saying. But the thing was, now that this is out, where they at now? Huh? Where at? Say it loud. But anyway, so they ain't out nowhere talking now. But I think that somewhere in there lies the reason why, even though we may come to find and have a different determination, you know how they is here. You sign on the dotted line, you sign the contract, it's an agreement, it's a binding, and so we're going to stick to it regardless. So we see that they said 20 hours, they ended up being 15 hours, right? And that now that this testimony is public, and according to this activist, Christopher 2X, he said there's a lot more to this story. We can see that. Again, there's certain things that they just spell out based on me just listening. I've got notes and stuff that I looked at. I'm like, hey, man, this stuff is kind of like it's not matching according to what I thought originally. And so their whole purpose right now is hoping that they can find a way to get this silence lift off the grand juries, right? And because, again, the reaction of the people in the nation, they said the tapes in itself, or they say the audio of itself, right? They say it doesn't give a human feel to it. It's just kind of a formality. They're doing presentation, a couple little questions, but to take that off and let them to express everything how one wants to articulate that would probably be good for the nation. But in the process of them doing that is going to implicate a lot of people. You get what I'm saying? So, they're going to try to protect that, right? And so he's urging the community, this 2X, is that he wants the community to sit back now and ponder the fact that there's a possibility that you might can get some justice going through the feds, right? He wants to put the trust. But did you hear in that report where they said that the feds said that if there's going to be anything that they would come to a summation of their investigation, it won't be till 2021, okay? 2021 is really right now, we're less than, 3 months away, right? 2 months, less than 2 months away from 2021, right? Does that mean January? Does that mean February? Does it mean March? Does it mean, August? But 2021. So that's delaying more time. And delaying more times is kind of like the same thing. Let's say, for instance, if you cooking, you go in your kitchen, we ain't talking about microwave. We talking about when you're going in and you're cooking. And you got food in there that's got to sit and cook for, 35, 45 minutes, right? And then after you got it done, it's hot boiling and everything. Now you let it simmer and cool down, right? Well, that's how it is right now. The pot is representing the fact that the people are hot. Just got through cooking, right? So time to 2021 doesn't specify an exact month, exact date. It just says 2021. So that's going to give time for what? For the pot to simmer, the heat to die down. And then when it get at the temperature that you wanted it, then you can serve the dish. You get what I'm saying? Now, what he believes is this serving of this dish could be beneficial, and it could be something because they think there's a relationship, right? There's a relationship. And he believes if you want to get any justice for Breonna, that you can't be afraid to engage with them. Sometimes some people, you find ways to give people the benefit of the doubt when sometimes they got to earn that. You get what I'm saying? Based on our history, we as Black American descendants of slaves of this nation, institutions in this country have done us so wrong, sanctioned by the nation to do what they have done. Why would people just think that we would be wholeheartedly just having trust in them? We're not going to do that. We're not going to have this trust in you just because you say so, because you have always seemed to pull the rug from up under us time and time again. So he, being who he is as an activist in his state, in his community, he wants them to trust him. He said, well, y'all put trust in this Kentucky the Attorney General Daniel Cameron. And he said, y'all did that, right? But then you see what happened, right? So again, it's kind of like, people who keep letting you down, keep breaking promises. After a while, whatever they say, it don't have no resonance with you. So you can't blame them. But I understand what you're trying to say. So again, as you've seen in that press conference there, he had two women with him. And the two women, one of them, they from U of L, I guess that's the University of Louisville, and said they spoke to the FBI too, the special agent that you've seen in their video. And they expressed a desire to increase transparency with the Louisville community. See, the word there, transparency. It sounds good when somebody says, well, we heard that with the first black, didn't we? Administration will be transparent. Okay. But what does that really mean? Transparent, as much as the person saying they're going to be open with you and let you know, you won't know until later on that you get to go back and look and whether they was really who they say they was. So right now, everything is just trust me. I'm going to do right by you. Trust me. Huh? Go back in history what the Indians said. He said, you need a place to sleep? Yeah, here's a hammock. You hungry? Here's some corn. You want to smoke my pipe? I'll go ahead and smoke that. That's called marijuana. You smoke that too, right? Went to sleep that night, woke up the next morning, guns up. Everybody get down. Say, this is stick up. Everybody get face down, right? You know what I'm saying? And up got on you. But see, you was trusting them, right? And so this long history of that makes it hard for people to be trustworthy like that with you. It's just, man, I got to be honest with that, right? You have to earn that, relationships, peoples. You go through that when somebody cheated on you and you don't walk away or you don't get out of the situation. You got a crack in that. So a lot of times it'll be a lot of time to be years involved and people, got more time in than they wasn't getting away, and then sometimes, they wanted to mend it back. But that trust issue gonna always be there. It's gonna take some time for you to be able to get that back. If you ever get it. Now, most people be like, walking away, I ain't even gonna go through that with you. You break my trust once, that's it. Some people, they'll go through it. And so we in this relationship, as black people in this country, have been our heart broke too many times. So it's like, wait a minute. You know, you ever seen a relationship with somebody and they just walking all over the damn person, can do whatever, the person just all in love with them? That's how they acting. Like you just all in love with them. Now, it ain't like that no more. If it ever was like that, I can't even say if it ever was, but just saying, hypothetically, if it ever was like that, that's done now, right? So you're going to have to, you know, matter of fact, when that in the 5 heartbeats, dude was sitting there with his girl, went to go get some drinks. And then he said, come on, let's do the game. Let's do the game. Work it, JT, work it. He went over there, wooed old girl, probably put the game for his brother, right? He's like, nah, I got this one. He walked out. Dude come back with the 2 drinks. I got to prove my love every night. Right? Remember that? Right? Had to go out there and whoop him up, right? Because what? She that tight. She put him through that all the time. He taking it back, right? That's what they thinking. We ain't going to be keep doing that with y'all, man. So, we see two exes saying that, you know, they intend to organize in the next several weeks. You know, what they're going to do is have a lot of community interaction with the FBI. And you can come out and you can talk to the people firsthand. Or they're going to come out and talk to the people firsthand. And they're going to keep doing this while they're doing the investigations. Okay. We get that. But that's something you need to do anyway. Right? Again, that's you earning the trust. But at the end, it's not about the process. It's not the fact that, okay, we're going to try to be transparent. What black people was looking for is what? We're looking for justice. You taught us in your school system, we had to learn how to spell words. We had to learn how to define words. Do you understand? Say the words. And the way that you program the children in the classroom, when they hear the word justice, they have that as the understanding of what they think that is. But the problem is, they get something entirely different. We see it being used for certain people and seem to be rendered, but it comes to us, it seems like we always holding the bag, but you don't get no justice. You don't get the bag and justice. You can't get, it's either get, well, we've seen in one case, and I hate saying this, we seen justice in no bag, right? And I think it was kind of, you know, somebody in the family kind of messed that up. But they ain't getting no bag either. And based on one of the family members feeling like, well, you know what? I don't want you to go to jail. Well, they took that literally. Really? You know my brother Rotten. He's dead, but I don't want you to go to jail. So when you trying to come out with that, they're going to take that literally. Oh, they don't really want to go to jail anyway. So we're going to actually help you to do that. We're going to help that. We're going to make that work. Will this be fine enough? Right? And I'm not doing this to make light of fun of, no, not at all. I'm just saying that's how, this is how this game go with them. So again, the trust, man, there is no trust here. Your trust has been smashed to pieces. And so now you want to try to get them to be like, okay, we're going to be chumming it up, yucking with them and all this other stuff. No, it's about getting the job done. Who's going to get the job done? Now, the thing is, if according to what I said earlier, is if it's all in the writing in the, consummating this $12 million and my insiders telling me this, then yes, they're going to need time to get, I guess maybe they betting on the fact that there's going to be some other stuff that's going to take our attention off of it, right? Because the agreement was already made with the family, and if the family okay with it, I guess you're going to say, well, you got to be accepting because they accept it. Not about what you want, is what they're okay with. They cool with it, then they cool with it, then this ain't your business. So that's what this is, y'all, right? They say that they want to come out, they want to talk about it. I don't know if that's going to, change any of the outcomes. He done came out and he done said now, he done came out and said that, you know what, I didn't. I only presented this. Now he's saying that, right? So, you know, you can't hold me for that. I told you what I'm going to do. I told you those two are innocent. So there's nothing to talk about here. Yeah, you're going to be angry, and yeah, you probably wouldn't have, but that's what they agreed to. So what do you, right? Oh, I guess, you know, if this is the only way it's going to come to some resolve, it's 2021. It's a long time. Well, it could be 2 months. It could be 3 months from now. It could be 5 months from now. It could be 7 months from now. Or it can be, what's that, a year and, let's say, 13 to 14 months from now. So, just wanted to bring that to y'all, man. You know, we all seen what we seen. And, again, we're just going to have to kind of contemplate and think about that. Was it in the deal? Was it in the $12 million? Was there agreement made? Only time I'm going to be able to tell that, y'all. So, let's take this and be right back. All right, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming over here and clicking on the video. Thank you for watching Black Minds News. Hope that you enjoyed. Comment, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff. Comment and say, hey, Mr. Blowman, I think you full of shit. It's all good over here. We EEOC. We don't kick nobody. We don't block nobody. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, right? So it is what it is. So, you know, again, we just have to look at it, man. It may just be the fact that that was the deal. And as much as it may be hard for us to accept that, I know that, you know, we're going to see people and they're going to be positioning themselves and they're going to say things and get on the TV. But at the end, if it's not what you think it is, right? If it's not what you think it is, then if the family cool with it, we're going to have to be cool with it too. As much as we can see through what's been presented, but that was the deal. You know, hopefully that if any of us have to go through that, family members, that I guess the game is not to take the civil what is the wrongful death wrongful death case, not to get paid. You got to hold out. Because I'm looking at the fact that based on what's been released, if you held out, I think you get the house. You get what I'm saying? I think you would get the house. But then again, we got to look at the people who you were trusting in. And I think there's somebody who's out here who's talking a lot about a lot of people who are representing people. And there's a person out here who's trying to make this known. But, you know, they'll probably talk about another time in another place, another time. But there's a lot of things that he's talking about he wants to reveal, but that's a lot of people. It's a lot of implications of a lot of people. And if that be true, it'll kind of just lift the skirt up so you can see, you know what I'm saying? Lift the skirt so you can see up under there real good. And you may not like what you see, right? So I guess that'll come in a later tape. So anyway, you know how we do it over here. This is Mr. Blow Your Minds. This is Black Minds News Report. To the next show, y'all. To the next show.
No.
What are you?
I'm black and beautiful.
What is your nationality?
My nationality is Afro-American.
Suppose I had some money in my pocket. Suppose I gave you $1 to say that you're an American Negro. This is money now. Money talks. Money talks. this dollar, and if you don't say it, you don't get it. You're an American Negro, aren't you?
No.
You won't have any money. You know you need money, don't you?
Yes.
You need money to live, don't you?
Yes.
All right. All you have to say, Leon, is that you're an American Negro. Aren't you an American Negro?
They're an independent body. If they wanted to make an assessment about different charges, they could have done that. But our recommendation was that Mattingly and Cosgrove were justified in their acts and their conduct.
One officer was charged with reckless endangerment for firing wantonly into the apartment, but the failure to charge anyone with killing Breonna Taylor has led to about a week's worth of protests here in Louisville. More than 200 people arrested and 2 police officers shot and wounded. Right now, the governor has said he has lifted the curfew and there are no plans to activate the National Guard. Harris, back to you.
Assessment about different charges. They could have done that, but our recommendation, different charges, they could have done that, but our recommendation, 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 recommendation.